Hi, it's Zoe Tant, the Tantalising Stamper, and today I'm going to show you a very simple way to do die cut masking. It's part of the Totally Techniques blog hop, and I hope you'll go along and have a look at everybody's. And this is what I'm going to show you. So it's a fun little card that shows this hidden little image. Okay, today it's die cut masking then. So getting started, I've got 3 pieces of white card. If you want the measurements in inches, they'll be under the video, and I'm actually going to use the centimetres metric while I do it. So I have this piece, which is 20.5 by 10.5, and I've scored it from the left on that side at 6.3 centimetres. Then I've got a piece that is 10.5 by 21, and that's scored at 10.5. And then this final piece is also 10.5 by 14.5, and it's scored at 14. So you end up with this tiny little flap here. And we're going to put that one over here for a second. So what we're going to do is put some holes effectively into the card. And if I just show you the rough workings. So that piece, that inner piece goes on there, and then these are stuck together and that will slide in, so it goes like that. So to put the viewing, we need a die, and you can either use this one, which is from the Scalloped Circle, Scalloped Blooms. So it's a standalone die set, or you can buy it with a stamp set, and it comes from a suite. They look like this. Part of the heirloom suite, there we go. Or you can use the stitch shapes if you still have them, and one of the circles about the same size as this from the Spotlight on Nature dies, and they're in low stock, so you might want to check those out. But I'm going to try it with this one today, and because my die cutting machine, I've got quite old plates, so I've got a little piece of just copier paper to protect my card from the scratches. I've got my die, and what I need to do is cut an aperture in here, and whilst I'm working in metric, it's going to be approximately 1.25 centimetres that I'm going to move in. So I'm just going to grab a pencil and put a little mark at 1.25, 1.3. So if I put a mark there, I know roughly where to put my die, bearing in mind that it cuts on the inside. So maybe if I put it on there, and that will be my first cut. And there's different ways you can do it, and you'll need to find which one works best for you, but this is what I'm going to do today. And I've talked about the paper protecting my card. So I'll put this in here to straighten up my camera. And you want to go through your machine, die cutting machine, and so that the die goes all the way through, but to reduce, if you've got plates like me, to reduce any marks on it, just come straight back, and that will cut it sufficiently to take that shape out. And it's also taking the paper, and I can turn that around for the next piece, but I'm just going to take this and move that momentarily, because what I need to do is adhere these two together. So you have your small piece towards the back. This is going to be the front of your card, and this is going to go inside and stick on here. Now it's up to you. You can either wing it and hope that they come out right. So if we just draw some thin pencil marks there, but I think what we'll actually do is pop the shape back in. So it depends how comfortable you feel. me personally, I would probably just wing it, but I'm going to show you this way. So I'm going to make sure that shape is in there, lift the top layer, and then I have a better pencil somewhere, which I've used. Except it's walked away. So I'm going to open that and just put some marks, ooh, not very well, around the edge so that I know where to put my die back. Those marks will be on the edge. So if we try and line all of these up now, that's it, that's what we want. And that's now in the right place. So I'm just going to show you now how the easiest way is to glue it together. So I want the hole in both. So I want this. So on the reverse here, I'm going to put glue all the way around the edge. And it's easier to do it on this side because you want to stick the whole thing down rather than work out there. Just get my glue lid to behave. And I'm not going too much here because I'm going to cut that shape out. So a little bit of waste not, want not, but also it doesn't need to be stuck. But I am going to make sure that I line it up straight, so I've got no bits that are not, so that it's literally card on card exactly, or as much as you can get it. Stick that down, and then we can pop this on, get it on the right place again, and then we'll die cut that. And again, it's very important that you don't go through the whole machine because you'll get bends and score lines that you don't want. I flipped the piece of copy paper around. Now this might take you a little bit more work because it's going to be through 2 layers. I'm going to keep that in place while I just pop that in, hold it in place, and then take it through. But remember, far enough to cut it, but no more. There we go. I take that piece out, move that. And you can now check, we can now check that we've got it right. That's it. So they're just about lined up. By the time we put some stamping on, no one will notice. Okie dokie, we'll move those out of the way. So the next part is to do some stamping. This extra piece is going to fit. I'm going to stick that onto here so that this panel slides in between the two. And as you might have noticed on my original, this comes up and then the ladybird appears as if by magic. It's a great card to do for children with whatever images they like. So on the back layer, I need to make sure I've lined this up. So I want that central layer lined up with the edge on that little flap. And the easiest way I've found is to just put an X approximately where you want to have your images. And we'll stamp just the leaf on the back, and then we'll stamp on here as well. So first of all, get Memento black. So I'm going to colour it with my Stampin' Blends. So I'll do that, and I'll stamp that on there, like so. And then I will colour that in. But to get the ladybird, I need to make sure that, I've got this approximately in the right place. Better, the closer the better. Because that needs to be there. So it's this piece. This inner piece is there. And if you can hold it, at this stage you could, if you wanted to, stick it together. That's going to come in. And again, what you can do is hold it up to the light so you can see your leaf. But I'm going to leave it there like that. And again, I can just about see it. So now I want my ladybird. I've got that on my stamp ready. I'm going to put that in the middle because hopefully that will be in the middle of my leaf. But then I need to stamp the leaf, of course. And the easiest way to do that is to, on some masking paper, you can see how this comes apart here. And this has got enough tack to hold it in place, but not so much that it sticks permanently. I can peel the backing off of this, which I die cut, because you get a little die as well. And I can line that up. Now, again, depending on where you cut it, you might have a little bit extra here. So you might decide you want to cut that off so that you've just got the black outline. But I'm going to put it on and then I will show you how you can top it up. So we'll gently move that out of the way. This stops you putting in bends that you don't need. And we'll get the leaf die again. We'll put this one underneath roughly where it's going to be. And if you line this edge with that, then you're in the right place because that's measured so that that goes in far enough, but there's enough to hold, connect this piece to the bit above it. And we can then pop our leaf over the top like that. And then we can colour as well. So if I've got shaded spruce here, I'm going to move that piece out of the way. I will colour that, but I'm just going to show you. You just colour, leave the mask on. You can colour quite quickly with the blends. If you haven't got blends, then watercolour pencils, the old Stampin' Up markers. You could watercolour probably from the ink lids. You just need to be careful that you don't have it too wet. And you can see I'm catching the ladybird, but of course that doesn't matter because it's masked with my die cut. Oops. And then I've got the darker shade, so I can put a little bit of shading on and use the leaves, the lines on the leaves to add that. Bit of shading down here maybe. Maybe it all on this side. And a little bit down here. Under these thicker lines sort of suggests a bit of shading. And if we want to, we can come back with this pen again and just gently blend it in. Draw back on it like this. And then we can peel off this ladybird. And it's there perfectly for us to colour. I'm going to use Secret Sea for its dots, so it gives a little bit of light and shade. And I will use Poppy Parade. Have I got the light or the dark? There, yeah, light. You can come back in a second, make it a bit darker, let that dry. Do these dots, spots of the ladybird. The darker shade for a bit of light and shade, light and dark. Maybe a little bit here as well. Little head at the bit darker. And then bring in the red. So if we start, maybe we'll go straight in with the red. Around it. I suppose you could go red first as well, and then when you colour over with black, it will hide any overlaps, but it's not a difficult piece to colour. I really like this set. I've used it a lot. I think it might end up being on the last chance list very soon, which is a shame, but I shall continue using it. I think it's become one of my favourites, I think. So again, we can bring in a bit of shading where we think it might be. A bit around the edge. That's it. And then you can see there is a little bit of a light shadow, which you could leave, but if you don't like that, then you can colour it in with your blend. Then you might need to let that little bit dry a little bit before you could come back with I think we'll do a bit of a mess there. You can come back in with a Stampin' Right marker, and I would suggest that either a Stampin' Right marker or one of our new journaling pens would be just enough to revisit when it's dry with you can see I've done this one here. You can come back in and add those lines, and no one would be any the wiser when they receive that. So we've got that piece, and we'll add this piece. This piece will go onto here. So we'll pop that on. That will be, and then that comes in like that. And it's literally held together by those two. So I've got one that I've prepared already. I have this coloured. I didn't colour this one very well, but I've got it ready to save you watching for hours and hours. That will go there, and we can glue that on there. So if we put a little bit of glue down here very carefully, and then we can add this. It might be better if I flip it out that way. And you've got to be careful. The temptation is to do that, which will bend here. So you have to just be a little bit careful. Bring that on the top and just line those two bits up so that that edge goes down the fold. You want them straight, and you may want to just hold them for a couple of seconds or so to make sure that the glue is adhered, and that will come around the back here like this. There we go. And then you can decorate it with some stamping, because this rather nice stamp comes in here. And if you use some scratch paper or a silicone mat, you can stamp let's use our photocopier paper that we have left, so we can stamp along like this. If you raise it and lower it, you could also use second generation ink to make it a bit more light and dark if you want to. So fill in those bits at the bottom. A little bit of different. And then to decorate it, I've used another one of the dies from the set. I think I showed you earlier. So I've got this one and this one, and then these come joined, but it just cuts out the flower. So I cut some yellow ones and some orange ones, and then I've used the piece out in the middle and swapped them over. And the easiest way to do that is to stick the outer flower onto a glue dot, And then if you use your taker tool, which is here somewhere in my mess, where have I put it? But you can use the putty to pick it up. And that works really well, just to pick up the little dots to pop it in the middle. And then you can leave them on the strip like this. And then when you're ready to add them, first of all, I'm going to add this large flower. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of glue, as it's that much bigger. I'll pop that up there. And then these will just nicely peel off if you're careful. And you can add them wherever you want to make it look like daisies growing in the grass. And it looks really pretty. And if you lift up top and tail them and put them in different places, it's really pretty. And we've also got the ladybird gems. And I've got these gems. These are called ladybug green epoxy shapes. So you get these really nice clear little bits that if you, there's my putty. If you unscrew that, just keep it somewhere safe. And then you can, I like to use this little hook, or otherwise this pointy end. In fact, I'll use the pointy one. So if we top that in there, and then we can use one of these just to give a bit of detail on that flower, like so. And if we put a little ladybug on here as well, she looks quite sweet on there. And we've got all that lovely detail. And then you can repeat all of the same stamping on the inside, and you can add more butterfly ladybugs if you want to. But you want to be careful with the weight inside and the bulk, as it can affect this. It's worked quite nicely with the scalloped edge. And on my original, I used a stamp from the springtime scene. So I really think this is lovely, sending lots of sunshine. I think sometimes it's just nice to send a friend sunshine. Somebody might be down, somebody might be unwell. Sadly, someone may have lost someone, but I think sending sunshine just lets people know that you are thinking of them. So I put that on this one. You can see I swapped my colours around a little bit, and then it opens up, and there's my ladybug. The final touch is possibly to add a little bit of Wink of Stella to your coloured butterfly for a bit of sparkle. Obviously it depends on who you're sending it to, but you can sparkle up your ladybug dots. And there you go. So we've got, I'll get rid of the mess. We've got our card there. We've got some lovely flowers. You've got plenty of room for writing on. And as I said before, you can either use the scalloped blooms from the Heirlooms suite. You can use the stitch shapes or the circles from the Spotlight on Nature. Although the piece that you cut out of the middle has detail round, the aperture that it leaves is entirely smooth, and it just about does the job. Bear in mind that you don't want to go too large with this, or you don't have the room here. And you can see roughly the workings there. And I think it's a fun card. It's a little bit different. And it's actually one of those ones that looks way more difficult than it is. My brain works a little bit difficulty on this sort of thing, so it needs some thinking to stick the right pieces in the right places and where you can put circles, but I'm sure you'll get there, and hopefully I've made it clear enough. If not, please do contact me at stampingscene.blogspot.com, where you can find all my links and find out a little bit more. Thank you for joining me today. Bye bye.